If you watch football, you've seen it a million times. The post-match stats flash up on the screen, and there's one number that always gets talked about: distance covered. Well, today, we're going to tear that number apart and find out why it might just be the most overrated stat in the entire sport. Let's dive in.
So, picture this. The final whistle goes, the graphic pops up, Team A ran a massive 115 kilometers. Team B, a full 7 kilometers less, clocking in at 108. Now, at first glance, that looks like a story of pure effort, right? One team just wanted it more.
So, just based on that one little stat, who do you think took home the win? Your gut instinct, my gut instinct, pretty much everyone's says Team A. I mean, more running equals a better performance, doesn't it?
Well, the truth is, that number tells you almost nothing useful about the final score. So it's time we all started looking past the sheer volume and started digging into the numbers that actually decide who wins and who loses.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to bust this great running myth wide open. Then, I'll show you the 4-question framework the pros use to look at this stuff. We'll learn how to read the data with some much-needed context, see how that changes things on the training pitch, and finally, how any team can do this even without a Premier League budget.
Okay, let's get right to it and tackle this big misconception. For what feels like forever, we've all been told that running more means playing better. But you know what? The actual data tells a very different story.
You see, when researchers looked at the link between how much a team runs at high speed and where they finish in the league, the correlation was only about 0.2 to 0.3. Now, you don't need to be a statistician to know that's not a whole lot. It basically proves that just running more isn't some secret key to winning trophies.
So here's the real takeaway. It's not about the quantity of the running. It's all about the quality. The real challenge isn't just getting players to run fast. It's about getting them to run fast at the perfect moment in the perfect spot on the field and for a very specific tactical reason. So, if total distance is basically a junk metric, how did top clubs figure out if a player's physical performance was any good? Well, they use this really simple but incredibly powerful 4-question framework to give every single sprint some actual meaning.
First, they ask, when should this run happen? Is it when we've just lost the ball or when we're trying to break down their defense? Second, where on the pitch do we need it? You know, a winger sprinting in behind the defense is totally different from a center back making a last-ditch recovery run. Third, what happens right after the run? Does it lead to a shot, a cross, a key tackle? And finally, they ask why a player might not be able to do it. Is it their top speed, their acceleration, or maybe they just can't do it over and over again?
Once you start using this framework, it completely changes how you see the game. It's not about one big, dumb number anymore. It's about figuring out if a team's running actually helped them execute their game plan.
And this is where it gets really cool. Because you see how a team's tactics totally shape their physical stats. A team that loves to high press, they're going to have tons of short, sharp bursts when they're hunting the ball down. But a team that sits back in a deep defensive block, they'll do less work without the ball, but they'll absolutely explode with long, high-speed sprints the second they win it back and launch a counterattack. See? The question isn't, did we run a lot? It's, did our running fit our strategy? And of course, not all players are built the same. You can kind of group them into 3 buckets. You've got your speed-oriented players, the natural sprinters. Then you've got your endurance-oriented players, the guys who can run all day but need a bit of help hitting top gear. And in the middle, you have your hybrids, who need a mix of both depending on their position. Knowing this is huge for coaches because it tells them who's already built for the game plan and who needs some extra work.
So, this is what it all boils down to: efficient running versus inefficient running. An efficient run is one with a purpose. It creates space, it leads to a goal-scoring chance, it forces the other team to scramble. Inefficient running? Well, that's just running. Chasing balls you're never going to get, pressing all by yourself. It pads the stats, sure, but it has zero real impact on the match.
Okay, so how do you actually coach players to make more of these game-changing, impactful runs? Well, you have to build it right into your training sessions. You're not just training their legs, you're training their brains.
And the secret sauce here is a concept called games with consequence. These are basically training drills where you rig the rules to reward the exact type of runs you want to see on match day. It forges that link between a physical sprint and a positive outcome.
So, for instance, you could run a drill where any goal counts for double if it's scored within 6 seconds of winning the ball back and involves a run in behind. Or maybe you give out points every time the team works together to win the ball back within 5 seconds. You're not just yelling run, you're creating a game where they learn exactly why and when that specific run wins the drill, and ultimately the match.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great, but it must require a boatload of money for fancy GPS trackers and data analysts. But here's the thing. The core ideas here can work for any club at any level. It's about being smart, not just rich.
Here are 4 key things to focus on. 1. Profile and monitor your players using simple tests and even just asking them how hard a session was. That's called RPE. 2. Make sure every player gets at least 2 good doses of max speed sprinting each week. 3. Use the game itself, like small-sided games, to build that repeat sprint ability. And 4, and this is the most important one, invest in your coaches. A coach who knows how to design a session that hits both physical and tactical targets is worth more than any gadget you can buy.
So, at the end of the day, it all comes back to this one simple, powerful idea. The goal was never to just run more. The goal is, and always has been, to run smarter. It's about making sure every single burst, every sprint, every high-intensity run actually counts for something.
So the next time you're watching a game and that distance covered stat flashes up, I hope you'll see it in a whole new light. And instead of asking who ran the most, you'll be asking a much better question. Whose runs actually made the difference? Thanks for joining me.